And welcome back to Luminary Leaders Live. My name is Shelley Harrison, and I'm your host. And we come on here live with our guests across the country. We're streaming on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and we'll be on all the apps with this particular interview. As you see here with me, I have a phenomenal guest today. And I also want to give a shout out to our sponsor, who is Endeavor Mortgage. So we want to give a shout out to Dan Leonard. He's out in Seal Beach, and he is an amazing guy who does great work for people to help them with home mortgages and also different types of investment properties. So with that, thank you, Dan, for your sponsorship. And I want to introduce my guest, who is Glenn Bowie. And he is a client of ours with Luminary Leaders. And I'm very excited to have you meet him because he's just got an extraordinary story. And he's very well connected with Hollywood and celebrities that we all know. And you're going to hear a couple of those stories. So, Glenn, welcome to Luminary Leaders Live. How are you?
I'm doing great, Shelley. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you're here. And, we've got a lot of things to cover. And, I'd love to start with just, talking a little bit about, I know, you're an author, you're a keynote speaker, and you have extensive sales experience with almost over 200 awards that you've collected and earned over your career. And now you've got, in this case, now you've got Glenn Bowie Speaks,
hmm
and, you've got other things that are churning. So tell us about yourself, Glenn.
Well, I was born and raised in Peoria, Illinois.
Hmm.
It was a dream and vision of mine to come to California one day, and the rest is history. I just was able to build relationships and contacts and connections of all sorts, and it's just been truly a blessing coming to California from Peoria, Illinois.
Yeah. And what I love is, I did read your book, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. Going through your book, it just really reminded me of being grateful and never giving up and just pushing and persevering. And in fact, this is Glenn's book, and you see it here. So it's The Art of Speaking into Existence. And tell us who wrote the foreword, Glenn.
Yeah, Blair Underwood is a good friend of mine. We've known each other for, I would say, probably at least over 25 years.
Yeah.
And he was kind enough to write a beautiful forward, and he's just a good spirit and a good person. So I was really excited that he was able to do that for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a phenomenal book, and I couldn't put it down. I like to read as much as I can. And once I get into a book, I know that that I'm going to love it. And yours was definitely one of those books that I would highly recommend to anybody that's looking, who thinks that, it's not possible, because it is possible, right?
That's it. It's all about, perseverance and overcoming and dreaming big and having a vision and goal for your life. And
Yeah.
I'm just blessed and honored that it's being well received in the marketplace.
Yeah, and the one thing that was clear throughout your book was your background in, like in the communications industry with, the beeper pagers, I should say, shouldn't say beepers, but pagers and phones. And tell us about that and how it kind of, really brought you to the point that you're at now.
Well, when I first came to California, after graduating from college, Shelley, I was very frustrated because at that time I had my degree. I was all excited to get started, and I couldn't find a job. And so I started out in the hotel industry, and there
Mhm.
was a gentleman there who ended up becoming my mentor. His name was Herb Hunter, and he gave me my first shot. And he went on into sales, and he knew that was something that I always wanted. And so he
Yeah.
gave me my first chance, and that's when he brought me into Nextel and all the big boys. It kind of started from there. So I was just excited that I was able to get that opportunity.
Yeah, and the stories that were part of that experience with you. Let's talk about maybe one or two of them, because I know you had some very close connections with some pretty high level celebrities. So pick one. because you've got a lot of them, and I know there's so many that, that we could share, but we don't have time for all of them, and we wanna have people come see you speak.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, I tell you, you just never know where you're going to end up in life. Sometimes,
Yeah,
you just step out on faith. And I've always felt like, to make anything happen in life, you have to be in action to make
yeah.
something happen. And I happened to have lunch one day in Hollywood at Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles. It's a great restaurant. Taking a few entertainers and a lot of my friends there.
Yeah.
I looked up and Boys to Men was sitting across from me. And they invited me to come over and join them for lunch. And they became one of my first clients in the industry.
Gosh.
And that kind of opened up a door. And from there, it
Yeah.
kind of took off.
I mean, the luck, and being in the right place at the right time. And I mean, were you starstruck, or were you just in that mode of, you know what, I want to help them. They have a need, you want to help them, you shared what you do.
Yeah, I've never really been starstruck. I never really set out even to target the Hollywood industry.
Yeah.
It just happened. Motorola put me on the cover of a magazine, and I
Yeah.
stapled my business card to it, and I
Oh,
circulated that out to a few people. And next thing I know, it kind of went viral in Los Angeles.
oh my God.
Next thing I know, my phone was ringing off the hook, and I was going to different places on the set and studios and so forth.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the biggest thing I learned was that people are just people, and they're just like us at the end of the day. And so I try to
Yeah.
respect their time and give them the privacy that they need. And I became a trusted advisor.
Oh, yeah, and I mean, what a great marketing strategy though, because it was something that, they could put the face with, the person who, like you said, that you wanted to gain their trust, you wanted them to be really long-term clients, which ended up happening as you went from one company to another, right? Because you had return clients.
Well, yeah, I mean, thank God for Herb Hunter. I was kind of like glue on his shoe. He couldn't get rid of me because once we did the PageNet thing, and then it led to the Nextel, and then you
Yeah.
know that whole industry just took off, and then Sprint, and then T-Mobile, and now here I am. Just
Yeah.
doing Bowie Speaks. So I'm really excited about the future.
Right. And we know that you've stepped away from, the just that industry to really focus on just helping the masses. And when I talk about masses, I know that with your book, you're looking to put it into 1 million hands. And tell us about that, because I know this is an opportunity where people can learn what your mission is, and what's behind the $1 million, or excuse me, your book in a million hands.
Well, the hook of the book, the name of the book is The Art of Speaking Into Existence.
Mhm.
And the hook of the book is From the Projects to Prosperity,
Yeah.
Life Lessons Learned Along the Way. And so it's basically my life story. And the book was dedicated to my mother, who was the vision and dream that she had for our kids to position us to middle class America. But she had always reminded us that even though I'm going to position you and one day we're going to get out, she said, just make sure that you always never forget, where you come from. And so
Yeah.
that was deep in my heart. And so I had so many stories that I wanted to share growing up, starting
Yeah.
from my vision board and everything. So the goal is just to reach as many people as I can, uh, and
Yeah.
to touch so many people in so many ways. And the feedback that I'm getting, it feels good just to make a difference.
It certainly does. And I know we have a few things that are on the drawing board. And maybe you can mention a few of them. I know Southern California Edison, and you have the Grove coming up for a book signing. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting. Southern
Yeah.
California Edison's having a Black History Day on February 24th. So I'll
Yeah.
be part of that.
You're
Exciting
speaking.
times. Yeah, I'm really
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah, and
Uh,
that's viewed by, I mean, I've attended those events, and they're just so authentic and real, and I just love the vibe that's at these events
I
for
love it
Southern
too.
California Edison.
Yes. And
Yeah,
also I'm working on a book signing at the Grove. And
in Los Angeles, yeah.
you got it. So that's
Yeah.
going to be a fun time, and invite all my friends to come out and come and visit me, and let's have a good time.
Yeah, that should be a lot of fun, and, it's a beautiful location, and probably towards, we're still working on the date for that, but it should be somewhere in between, spring ending and summer starting, so we'll work on that date. Yeah, and when I talk with people that like to, get on stage and just really give a story or their story. For you, Glenn, what do you feel is the most important to you? So if you're getting up in front of a group of and in Kate and in fact, you were up in front of a group of almost 5,000 people, and this is going way back, a few years, which was an organization, and I can't remember the name of the organization, but you were in front of 5,000 people, and most people would be mortified, getting in front of that many people. But what do you feel that is different for you when when you bring your story and expertise to an audience?
Well, I just try to keep it real and honest and authentic. Let
Hmm.
them know that, I'm just like you are. I just happen to be up here on the stage, and I try to relate to the audience of, what I've gone through, and try to tie it together with what they possibly are going through. And I try to create
Yeah.
an experience for them and tell them a story to
Hmm.
help them, reach their goals and their dreams of what they would like to do in life. And so
Yeah.
that was my goal and mission, was just, I call it feeling the heartbeat of the customer or your client. So that's
Yeah,
what I really
that's
try to do, is try to relate to them and share stories with them that will resonate and hit home.
yeah. Well, and that really is attributed to all the, 200 plus awards that you've received over your career. Because it's important. And you said something very important, as far as the heart, it has to come from the heart when you're selling, because sometimes people will have buyer's remorse, or, they'll think that, pushy salesman, and I think a lot of us, we talk about the, pushy car salesman, but I think now, car buying is so much easier. You could buy, a Tesla online. You could buy a lot of other types of cars, and online. But what do you think is, from what, the experience that you had in the early
Mhm.
days compared to now, what has changed in the sales arena for, people that are out there selling products and services?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Um, Number one, I think it's important to build relationships. I think,
Yeah.
I've never really looked at myself as a sales rep per se. I've
Yeah.
always looked at myself as an advisor.
Hmm.
My approach to sales has always been, help me help you. And
Yeah.
so I've always looked at it from that angle and built relationships that are still going strong to this day, for over 3 decades of being in the industry. It's just being true and authentic, and being honest, and building that one relationship one by one, and
Yeah.
generally want to help someone else, and paint a picture and a vision of where you want to take them with their business. And I
Yeah.
think that helps tremendously.
It really does. And and I kind of reflect when you and I first met. I mean, I was anxious because I love, you know, building relationships, talking with people, selling, whatever it is that I need to help them with, because you're providing a solution. But when I look back and I think, oh my gosh, all of the years that I had in the banking industry, not the baking, banking, banking industry, I have friends to this day that were my clients back in, 25, 30 years ago. I mean, we're very close friends, and even, people that I work with at the bank, because we developed, long-lasting friendships, trust and credibility. And I think it's key, especially when you're out there and, like in your case, you're out there, talking with audiences about sales and your story. And that's what, I think really sets you apart, because of your humble beginnings and, really pushing forward, driving to a point where you were always, just very eager to help people.
I
That
think
that's how I see you, Glenn.
well, thank you, Shelley. It's really
Yeah.
important, to look at life. Life is short, as we know. There's been a lot of challenges these last few years, with a lot of us going
Oh,
through
yeah.
everything that's happening. And so to be able to uh, relate with someone and spend that time and really get to know them, and do like a deep dive into, like, what
Deep dive.
really what are they really looking for, with their business, or what is it they really want to get out of life. And then I try to be that person, that mentor, that
Yeah.
friend, that someone that they can count and they can trust.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. And I'm excited because you have book number 2 in the works. Do you
I'll,
wanna share a little bit about that or
I'll share. Yeah, sure.
okay?
I won't share the title yet because I haven't decided on that part, but it's
Yeah.
going to be a kind of a spinoff of the first book, kind of the next journey in my life. A lot of cool stuff has happened. Unfortunately, my mother passed. She was the driving
So
force of my
sorry for your
life.
loss. Yeah.
Yeah, and but
That's a
her
hard
s-
one.
but her spirit lives in me, so I'm really
Yeah.
excited for the next chapter. I have a daughter that is in my life, and two grandkids that
Oh,
came out because of the book. If the book would have never
that's
came out, I
miraculous.
would have never known that I had a family back in Peoria.
Wow.
So it's a whole new beginning for me, and so I'm looking forward to sharing those stories in my book and
Oh,
the vision that I have, not just for myself, but for my family. And
yeah.
I wouldn't be where I'm at today, Shelley, if it wasn't for all the people that have helped me along the way. I wouldn't have had all those 200 awards if it wasn't for people in customer service and,
Yeah.
my managers and IT department. It was just so
Yeah.
many people that have been there that have helped me along the way. And so that's what Glenn Bowie Speaks is all about, is paying it forward and giving back and making a difference in someone
Yeah.
else's life.
I love that. I love that. And, if you had to, give us some guidance, our audience, um, something that you really feel strongly about that you want them to know going into 2023, what would that be?
Well, I would say believe in yourself. Uh,
Yeah.
Find your passions.
Mhm.
I mean, for me, it was as simple as having a vision board. That helped
Yeah,
me focus and determine what I really wanted or didn't want for my life, and find mentors and friends that can help you along the way.
that's
And
key.
yeah,
Yeah,
find a
finding
mentor.
mentors. The
And
right mentor, right? The
yeah,
right mentor, somebody that you can really trust and look up to.
yes, and you have to be careful, who you share your vision and your goal with. So they have to kind of believe in you. And but most importantly, is just keep continuing on. Life is about sharing with others and helping someone else come up as well. So,
Yeah.
be considerate of other people.
Oh, absolutely. And I know, people can find your book on Amazon and a lot of the bookstores carry it. And again, you're going to be at the Grove, so we'll make sure that, that's announced on social media once we have that date down. And people can catch you at Southern California Edison's event on February 24th. So if you have ever attended that, you know what I'm talking about. They've got a DJ, they've got a lot of fun things, they have prizes that they give away, and it's really a great celebration for Black History Month. Glenn, how can people get a hold of you?
Well, you can get a hold of me at glennbowiespeaks.com. That's Glenn, Glenn, Bowie, Bowie, speaks.com.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you for being on Luminary Leaders Live today. It's been so much fun getting to know you and just learning a lot about you, Glenn, and what really is kind of your mission and what you can do for audiences and just people that you have known that they're just really supporting you. You have a big, just a nice sphere of influence that will really be wonderful for your journey. But I want to thank you for being on Luminary Leaders Live, and we will catch everyone next time. Thank
Thank you,
you.
Shelley.
Thank you, Glenn. Bye bye.